Hey campers, George here, back in the man cave. Kinda. You can see how bare it is. Stripping it down for the big move. A couple of bits of bad planning that I didn't think about when I packed everything. But hey, we can try. I was looking at these two guys. Electricians Knives. This one I got recently. It's a Craftsman. So is this guy. But I have more and some history. Let's check it out. Got to get some go juice in me because why? This is going to be a long one. To be honest, I didn't know I had that many electricians. But hey, here we are. And we got a bunch of info we can look at. So, let's have at it. So what got me all going on this electrician stuff is this guy. This one I got fairly recently. It's probably the last one I got not too long ago. And as you know, I've been away for 2.5 weeks. Visiting family, taking care of some stuff, and spending time with my kiddos. And as you know, big changes coming to the channel, the way things are going. I decided it was time to move back and be with the family. Some tough things going on that we got to deal with, and some other stuff. And, you know, my kids came to me and sat me down and said, "Dad, when they start with that, you're in trouble." Just saying. Basically, it boils down to it's time to come home. So here we are, an empty man cave, packed everything up, and like I said, the planning wasn't that great. I packed stuff I'm gonna need to work on my knives. And I got to tell you, 3 weeks without playing with a knife, it's not a good feeling. So we have this guy. Why this guy? Well, it just happens to be a nice electrician in excellent condition. Everything about it. The only thing it's missing is the box. And this guy, let me get it for you. Yep. Craftsman. How about that then? Just so happens I have another one. They're a little different, and that got me thinking, what's going on? So I decided I'm going to look at my other electrician knives that I've got. You know, I've probably got 5 or 6. Not so much. As you saw in the picture, more than I knew. So, let's look at these two, because they're Craftsmen, the only two I have, but they're different. To start off with, the model numbers are different. So, I looked them up. Here's what we found out. I'll try and show you this. If you look carefully at these tank stamps, they're different model numbers, and the tank stamp are slightly different. One is 2-line, one is 3. They have the same info on. They both say Craftsman, USA, and that's where it stops, because this guy, the one that I just got, says the model number is a 95237. Right? Well, this one, which is one that I got a while ago, and I suspect might be a little bit older. It's a 2-line tank stamp. What does that mean? Well, there's some significance apparently, but I couldn't find out exactly what. There were mentions of 3-line versus 2-line, and the way the tank stamps are stamped, the lettering, and how they laid out. Still didn't help. But this one is a 9560. They're different numbers. Handles are a little different. And there's some significance in that. How much it is, I'm not sure. And having read up on them, a couple of things. They talk about, obviously, the tang stamps. They talk about the handle material. Now, what they say is the darker handle material. Now, this is Delrin. Both of them are. One is darker than the other. The other thing they talk about is wood grain. Can you see that? And they talk about the significance of the wood grain being deeper on one than the other. You see that? This one is a little bit more pronounced. It's kind of hard to show you. Maybe there. And it's a little bit more robust. Word of the day. So they are different. Who they're made by? Well, Schrade. Schrade made them both. And here's the differences. Let's look at this guy first. And this is the one with the darker Delrin on it. And this is the 9560. And here's what they talk about. And they say here that the tang stamp is marked Craftsman over USA and the model number. Just 2 lines. So you can see that on there. And I showed you what the tang stamp looked like. And they said it's darker. And as I showed you, they said the Delrin wood grain effect is a little deeper. Now, what does this all mean? Well, you know, Schrade had the contract for Craftsman right from the get-go. From about the 1970s to the late 80s. So, you know, 20 years of making it for Craftsman. Why the number changed, I don't know. And I think it was just to do with changes at Schrade. Obviously, they were doing the tang stamps and that stuff. So they're a little different. As far as the tools are concerned, it's your typical what we expect to see in the good old-fashioned electrician's knife. You have the blade, the main blade, which, by the way, you can see this one has more of its belly than that one. Look how flat the cutting edge is here. But this one, you can see the belly, and it's a spear point. They both were. This one's just been used a lot more and sharpened and whatnot. And it's lost that belly of the spear point. But the tools are exactly the same. And by the way, there are different things about the tool as the Electrician's Knife progressed. And we'll get into that a little bit more because I decided to have a look at who, when, and why did someone make an electrician's knife and it became so popular. These just happen to be Craftsman made by Schrade. Now the one that we're talking about here, which is this guy here with the darker handle, they're saying this is the 60, the 9560, and they talk about the dark handles. They everything else is basically the same tang stamp, slightly different 2-line. And they said if you look carefully at it, the darker Delrin handle with the more robust wood grain on the Delrin could be from the 60s to 70s, which kind of conflicts with what it's a conflict with what they say previously about Schrade making these from the 70s to 80s. Typical, when you look up this stuff, you get all these slight variations. But this one certainly used more, been around a little bit longer. Is it from the 60s? It could be. I suspect maybe closer to the 70s to 80s, just like this guy. Now this guy came later, and this is the nothing on that. And on the tang stamp on this one is the 3-line where it says Craftsman, USA, and then the model number. So it has 3 lines on the tang stamp, which came later. They say probably 70s to 80s, mainly the 80s. You can see it's a lighter color, Delrin, and it's not as obvious on the wood grain. It's pretty straightforward, plain. And when you look at this guy, it has a lot more detail. It's kind of hard to see with the dark. Let me see if I can catch it for you. See how it's got a totally different grain on it, a little bit deeper. The other thing they talk about is the tang stamp itself, the lettering. They say that the deeper the stamp, the older the knife. Now, if you look at these two, let me get them here for you. This one doesn't look as deep as that one. So we're back to the dark one being the older. So that's the information I found out. There's no other way to date them. Craftsman didn't have any specific dating. And of course, when Schrade made them, they didn't use any because, well, you know, it's a contract knife. So if you look at them, same size, same everything. The bolsters about the same. The bales are a little different. You see this? The older one has that kind of rounded on the edges here more, versus that is true round, and this is flattened off. This was more common on any of the older knives as well, so makes sense. Anywho, so that got me going. And like I said, I wanted to look up the history. Who started the whole electrician's knife? Now, you, me, and just about anybody else who's looked at the old traditional knife patterns and that sort of thing, we all tend to refer to this as the TL29. Well, yes, and kinda no. The TL29, and here's a picture of one knife. Oh, let me get it for you. Hold on. Of all the electricians I have, these are the only two that say TL29 on it. And they both happen to be, what do you know? Camillus. You know what I mean. Camillus. And you can see them here. They both say TL29. Which means they're military spec knives. They were built for the military. Obviously, this guy's way older. It has a beautiful wood handle on it and the plain Delrin black handle with the stamp TL29 on it. But we'll have a look at some of my other ones. Those are the only two that I think have TL29 actually on the knife. Now, well, what is the TL29? Well, reading up on it, the main producer of the TL29 or the electrician's knife or whatever you want to call it was made by Schrade. Schrade made more than anybody else, although Camillus gave them a run for their money on that because they also had military contracts. Now the military contract, and I tried to find the specifications for the TL29 and I couldn't find any information on it. People referred to it, but I just couldn't find any actual documentation. Maybe I need to look in deeper. You know, I have a great resource in Keith. He might know more. Anyhow, the military TL29 stood for, the TL was tool lineman. And everybody says the 29 referred to the date, the year that they produced that spec. So they say 1929. If you look up the history of the electrician's knife or the lineman or the military TL29, people talk about that. That's after the First World War, which surprised me because there's a lot of reference to the electrician or lineman knife from the First World War. And they even talk about the differences, and the main things they talk about is the tool. If you find an electrician that, you see this indent here, has two of them, typically about here, which is used for stripping wire, that's a really early one, around the First World War era. the reason they changed it from what everybody says is that having the two indents there weakened the tool, because you were using it as a screwdriver. Tighten it, they said it twisted, that sort of thing. So they kind of went away from that double notch on it. Yeah. So if you find one with a double notch, you're ahead of the game. Keep it no matter what. And if you don't want it, my address is below. Just saying. Typically the tool is a flat screwdriver, stripper, and a kind of sort of blade. And then it had the main blade on it. So what they used it for, they talked about the linemen in the First World War. You know, it was trench warfare. Everything, communication was done by line. They'd run these long lines between the trenches, headquarters and posts and that sort of thing, so they could keep in contact. And with all the bombing and shooting and whatnot going on, those lines would get cut all the time. So they'd send linesmen out, and you know, these guys would crawl around there in no man's land and find where the line was broken, and they'd strip the wires and rejoin them, and they were issued these knives to do just that. Now the interesting thing on the TL29, I looked up TL29 and discovered that it's actually part of a kit, okay, and that came later on in the Second World War, when they issued the communications guys their tools. They had the lineman knife, this electrician's knife, with a sheath and some pliers, and it came in a one type thing. Here's a picture of it here, and pretty cool. It was a kit, and if you refer to the kits, they break it down. Like I think the TL23, I can't remember the exact names, was the actual sheath. The TL whatever it was for the pliers was a different number, but the whole, pretty interesting. Obviously over the years, a lot of manufacturers, and I mean a bunch, made electricians' knives. They did not refer to them as the TL29 like Camillus did or anybody else, because they weren't built exactly to the military spec. They looked just like this, but the length of the blades and things like that was slightly different. Bail, no bail, that sort of stuff. So when they did that, and that was certainly after the Second World War into Korea, Vietnam, and it's still used today, by the way. Everybody made them. And there were slight differences. And then, of course, the three-blade electrician, which typically was your standard electrician's knife with your spear point and the tool. And the tool really hasn't changed much. But what they did was they added I want to say a utility blade, typically almost a hawk bill, basically is what it was, and made it into a three-tool electrician's tool. Now, which was perfect. Why? Not only did it make it a great electrician's tool, it made it a great any work tool. So you could use it for all sorts of things with that. There's been different models of this, and I saw one the other day while looking. I believe I was on Facebook, and a guy had some pictures. I should have downloaded a picture of one made by Boker, totally different to this. Basically a single blade electrician's knife, and it was a thing of beauty, and it's made by Boker. And the other thing is that who made it first? Some people say Schrade, some people say no, Robeson. There's all sorts of made it firsts, and I think the issue here is getting confused between the military spec and some guy coming up with an electrician's knife. I found a bunch of information. I'm not going to go through it with you guys. A lot of it is kind of conflicting. They talk about catalogs. It got so confusing, I gave up. I couldn't get a track of the dates. I should sit down and write the dates down and see what everybody says. So there you go, a quick look, kind of a look at the history that is really confusing, because when you go online, you find all this other information. Here's a word of warning. Read the small print with AI that you're looking at. When you use AI, if you look carefully, certainly on Google, the search engines, at the end of the AI, they'll give you little icons that you can click on, and that's where they got the information from. Got to be careful. Some of it you got to take with a pinch of salt. Remember, AI only knows what we've told it, or it's found that we've said or discussed or written about or made a video of. So be careful. Anywho, so there we are, and these two guys got me into all of that. I do this every time. I find a knife and I'm looking at it and I look it up and I wonder, I didn't know there were different numbers on Craftsman. And I knew I had another one, and I was looking at this thing while I was in San Diego, and of course I come back, pull out my Craftsman, and I'm like, it's a different number. And here we are. Let's have a look at my collection. And here it is here. And like I said, bad planning on my part. Didn't figure out that I'd actually need stuff to keep working on my knives. I've been packing up, trying to get the cottage ready and everything, and I was told, unclutter it before we can show it. So I had to take down pictures and all sorts of things. I was warned that some people are offended by knives or any type of weapon or anything. So I had everything up on the walls. You know how it looked. Had to take it all down. So I thought, if I'm taking it down, I'm going to pack it. And here we are. Bare bones. All right. So here we are. And like I said, I thought I had 6 or 7 electricians. Well, not really. This is all the electricians when I looked through my knives that I have. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 38. So, and they're all made by everybody. Some more recent than others. Some I modified. The handles were broken, so I rehandled them using different kinds of wood and things like that. So some are in great condition. The blades are awesome. Some not so much. They were well used, and you'll see what I mean. Different styles. There is 2 and 3 blade electricians in this. I'm going to go really quickly through them with you because, yeah, this could take forever. But let's have a look at some of the samples. Basically what I did was I put by manufacturer. And obviously this, you can see I have more of this manufacturer than anybody else. And yep, it is actually colonial, which means the knives have a long range of history here. They could go back as far as, who knows, up until a couple of years ago. And there's no real way of dating them. They didn't have any records. Yeah. Now, this is one, and I believe that, yes, this one came from LA Mike, I think, a subscriber who I actually met, and we went fishing in the ocean with him. And while I was there, he said, I know you're an electrician dude fan. And he gave me this one. Really good condition. You can see the blade. It still has a bit of belly on it. And it's an advertiser. FDR Local Union 2102. And this is their banquet, retired members banquet from 1977, commemorative. So 1977, indicator of how old it is. And you can see it has the standard electricians stuff on it. Nothing unusual about it. If you look at their handles, they're all very similar to this shape. On the back here makes them pretty obvious. It rounded off a lot here. It's very well rounded, whereas if you look at other ones, not as much. Let me find one here. you can see the difference on that end there. This is more squared off and not as obvious on the round. Don't know who that, oh, that was a Camco. So this is a typical colonial. Everything else is your typical electrician's knife you expect to see. It has a bail. It has that big brass liner lock for the tool. This one has a half stop. Not all of them do, but most do. And it's this plastic material, which makes it a little bit not as old as many others. And you can see this is an almost exactly the same one, and it's a colonial. The plastic looks a little different. I suspect this is a newer version than that one there. And here's one that's a little different. And yep, it's a colonial. See the difference? Bolster at the end and no bail. But otherwise, basically the same thing. And Colonial did that a lot. They had a lot of different stuff, little changes. Here's one with a wooden bail, Colonial, the only one I have that is actually true wood. I forget the name of it, cocoa whatever, it's that dark wood, and you can see the handles. Look how dark that one is, and that one, and I suspect it may have been changed, I'm not sure. But a pretty cool look, and we talked about 3 blades. And here you can see what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And becoming very popular, very popular. People like the idea of the 3 tool. See, it has the half stop, and of course just the tool has the liner lock on it. But this you'll find, you'll see a lot of this. You see that? Here's another 3 tool, but it doesn't have the wood handle. It has this, which is a pretty cool look. Here's one here, very similar. Here you can see this one is different to this one. This is a 3 tool with that handle. This one is a 2 tool. There's your tool. There's the blade. It no longer has the spear point blade. It just has that hawk bullish one. So Colonial did a lot of weirdo things. This is a very nice one as well. Now I will say a lot of these I found, but the majority of them I believe were mail calls from you guys, which I'm always grateful for. Without you guys I wouldn't be this deep. Here we have, this is Klein. Now Klein and Sons have been around for a long time, specialized in electrical tools, and their tank stamps vary a little bit. Here you can see in this one it says M. Klein and Sons, Chicago, and of course this says that Cocoa or whatever it is, Cocoa or whatever, that dark wood, which was very popular back in the day. So this is an older Klein, and of course it says M. Klein and Sons. Look at the position of the bail. It's really deep, the actual connection down the handle. Kind of unusual. Here is a more modern one. These you can see they have the Delrin or plastic handles. Pretty much the same thing. This one doesn't, you see it has that HH at the top. They started labeling them. And when you see that, they'll have like A, B, BB, that sort of thing. You can actually date them. This one here, you can see they went with a hawk bill. And it just says Klein Tools, and it has an N there. That means that this one is older than the other one, the one that said AHH on it. So they doubled up, they were on their second run around the alphabet. So here's one with F on it, just a straightforward Klein. And it says on your M. Klein and Sons, which makes it a little bit older, more closer to the wood-handled one. And here is one where the handle is damaged, and I just did it myself, and it's an M. Klein and Sons, an older version as well. I just put this, I forget what they call it, tiger wood or whatever. Very cool. Worked out pretty good, even with my bad workmanship. So Klein and Sons, you can still get them. They're still around. They've been giving tools to making tools for electricians for years and years. You know I'm a Camillus fanboy, so of course I have. And I just put them here because I put them into two different groups. The first one is, here's a TL29. Okay, and if you look here at the tank stamp, it's the regular, just capitalized Camillus with a full line under it, New York, USA, and it says TL29, and you can see here that it's that Delrin or whatever it is, but it's not a wood pattern at all, it's just plain. And with that tank stamp makes it about that old. This one, same tank stamp. Okay, and you can see the Delrin here, different colored. It's that brown. This is unusual. When I looked at this, I originally thought it was an electrician's knife. Look how small it is, and I thought, what? And when I looked at it, the reason I thought it was an electrician, look at that. Just thought this is not an electrician, obviously, but I've never seen this. You see this double liner lock that they're using on it here. This is actually a 3-tool pocket knife. It's kind of like a mini camper. It's made by Camillus, and you can see it has the same tank stamp. But I grabbed it right away because I'm so used to seeing that. Turned out it wasn't an electrician. If you look here, the subtle difference on these is the Camillus capitalized and italic. You see how it's leaning. These two. And you can see the handle material, very similar. Very cool. Here we're going down to, I don't have as many, but they are the same manufacturer. Some of them are just, I have one. And I wanted to show you something on those two Craftsman I was showing you. Can you see the main difference? See the pin there? This one doesn't have a pin. This is the older one. Oh, here you can see how different the wood grain is. So those are the two Craftsmen. These two here, if you look at them, yeah, they're almost the same thing, right? Well, this one is a Queen. And you can see it there. And this one here, if you look, it says QK on it, right? And I want to say that these were made by Queen for Ontario Knife. Not quite the same, but look at the nail necks. Looks pretty much the same thing to me. So this guy down here says stainless, wood handled, brass liners, brass bolsters, sorry, and the liners and everything. Very cool knife, and I was shocked and horrified that this is made in Pakistan. I was really impressed. It's a nice knife. Works great. And it has that cocoa, whatever it is, handle. This one is a Ward's, which who made it? I can't remember, but I want to say Camillus made this for Ward's. You can see how old it is. It's got the wood handle, that same wood again, that I can't pronounce. And all it says is Ward's, made in the US of A. Imperial. Look at those handles, okay? Now I get all suspicious. Very nice handles, very nice. This is Delrin, I suspect, or the plastic, basically. Very plain, normal electrician's knife, feels great. Look at those back handles. You know, Did Imperial really make this, or did Colonial really make that? I don't know. But this is an Imperial. It says Prov, not the full Providence, and Rhode Island, USA down the side, makes it that old. These two almost the same, except you see the tank stamp is the same. We're missing a pin. The middle pin on the spring side is missing. So there's slight differences between them. Here is another. I put it underneath the Imperials here because, yep, Imperial Island stainless. You can see here it has this hard plastic, pretty obvious to see it, and it is a 3 tool, and it's made in Ireland, and it's Imperial, and use them. But this is a more modern. When you see the new Kleins I was talking about, they're starting to look kind of sort of like this, like the idea of that. Very cool. Bale. And then we have this guy down here, and this should have been up there by the Camillus. This is a Camco, which was a not so fancy brand of Camillus. Pretty cool. It's your basically the same thing as that, except Camco. And apparently the quality wasn't as good. I really can't see a difference, but it was a Camco. These two, here is another one I rehandled. If the handle is damaged and that, and I can't fix it, this is that impregnated wood where they can do different colors. It's a pretty cool effect. And this is Ulster. Yep, that's an Imperial, right? Is Ulster Imperial? Who knows? I think it's Imperial. Very nice knife. Just the handle was broken. Oh, what is this? Oh, this one is an Ulster as well. And you can see it says Ulster knife. Wood handles, very cool, this knife. Love this. Very old school. Look at all them things on it. So, it needs some work. The springs, or I can't remember, but I want to say the tang on this is worn away, so we don't have any snap at all. I would have to find another blade, and to find a blade that says Ulster knife, well, we hold our breath. This one, if you look here, I couldn't read who it was, but it's something products, and it was made in Japan. Wood handle, very typical Japanese style. Older ones, love the way they make a knife. They're always big, sturdy, and tough. So, don't know who made this one, but it was made in Japan. Snap, excellent as always. Okay. Then we have this one, which is a Boca. And if you were watching shorts that I put out while I was in San Diego, this was one of the shorts, and it's a Boca USA Electrician. Very nice. Very well made. Not surprising. The snap and everything. Great on that. Now these two here, if you look at the blades, sheep's foot, and they're Electricians. Now these say, you see it says electric made on it. This one, nothing on the tang stamp. And this one says Rick Noir, I want to say Rick Noir, and it says Boston, USA. Rick Noir is in the same kind of people as Klein. They were a warehouse shop that did tools, and these were actually made by Colonial for Rick Noir, and they produced a bunch of them. A little different. You can see they're a little smaller than your average electrician. We were talking about not meeting that military spec. Most of these are pretty close as far as blade requirements and things like that. Then we got these two Cutmaster, Utica, and wood handles. So this guy's got some age behind it. That same, they all did use that same wood, and here you can see the same thing. Look, the color on this side, dark on that side. Has it been rehandled? I'm not sure, but very nice. I'm a Cutmaster fan. A very deep bale, this bit beat up, but hey, and they all have that half stop. And the other side of Cutmaster, here's another one. This obviously has the plastic handle with the I forget what you call it, when they dig it out like that. Two blade, very nice. And then we have this guy, and this is Armstrong. Now, I think I may have gone over Armstrong with you before. They have an interesting history, Armstrong, and this is a very cool knife. It's 3-blade, you can see it there, and it has the hawk bill. That's, you know, if you look at this, it's probably worn down a bit. It's almost coming to a sheep's foot. That hawk bill has kind of gone away, but well used, very typical 3-blade electrician, 3rd blade being the hawk bill. Between you and me, didn't realize I had this many electricians. It is one of my favorite patterns. If somebody said to me, get yourself a working man's EDC, a 3-blade electrician that you get today, and they're all sorts of Klein, they all made them, makes for a great work EDC. You've got, you know, that hawk bill, whatever you want to call it, utility blade, and you've got your standard spay blade on it, and of course your electrician's tool. Makes for a great work EDC. They're big, they're strong, they're sturdy. You can see how thick the line is and the springs are, which tells you that the blades are pretty hefty. Can take a lot of abuse. Not designed to be abused, but we all lose our way sometime. My electricians. And you know what? Favorite knives. I think I might have more of these than any other knife style, except maybe a camper. I might have more campers than electricians. Very cool. So there you go. Yep, kind of a long video. Didn't know how to get around that. And hopefully you learned something like I did. It was the information that I found. And by the way, I always keep this stuff to refer back to electronically. I keep them on computer so I can refer back to them. But there was a lot of information out there. You could spend days sifting through it and trying to figure out a timeline, what's what, who did what and where. It really confusing. But if you're patient, you can do it. I'm not. I get the information, I have it there, and every now and again I'll pull it up and read it when I come across one of those nights. You all be safe out there, especially when you're out working with these cutters and you're out working, doing your everyday things. I know a lot of us are retired. I'm a part-timer, but I always have a knife on me, and you need to pay attention. If you're like me and you carry a knife, you know you keep it sharp. Keep that in mind. Just saying. Appreciate you guys. It's been a really tough time these past couple of weeks, actually month or so. Been really busy taking care of other stuff, and I've got to get the cottage ready for the move to California. So, not easy. Got a lot of stuff to do and organize and all that good stuff. And then once I get there, organizing to do so that I have somewhere I can work on my knives. But that's another story. Got to go and visit Keith. Haven't seen him in a long time. Missed the guy. Always a good time talking to him about what he's been doing, and all that is always exciting. So there you go. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. I'd ask you to have a look and join the memberships, but I feel really bad not putting out videos because I got to be able to make the videos, and being on the road makes it really difficult going back and forth. But I'm back here for a while. I got a lot to do, and I'm hoping to squeeze some videos in. If you want to support the channel, you can see the join button below. Click on that, tell you all about it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, here you are. You're still supporting the channel. Thanks for watching. Always, always appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon.